Every time you eat a slice of cake, drink a can of soda, or spread margarine on your toast, do you know which organ takes the first hit? It's not your heart, it's not your liver, it's your pancreas. According to recent medical studies, it's our everyday eating habits that are silently wearing down the pancreas, leading to insulin resistance and eventually, diabetes. As one renowned endocrinologist once said, the pancreas doesn't scream, but when it gives up, your whole body will feel it. In today's video, I'm going to share with you 5 of the most common foods that are silently destroying your pancreas, and the worrying part is, most of us consume them daily without even realizing it. But before we dive into that alarming list, let's take just 45 seconds to understand why the pancreas, a small organ tucked behind your stomach, is absolutely vital to your overall health. Because when the pancreas loses balance, it's not just your blood sugar that goes up. Your immune system, energy levels, and metabolism all start to decline. And if you or someone you love is struggling with weight gain, post-meal fatigue, or prediabetes, this video might just change the way you look at food, forever. So why is the pancreas so important? According to endocrinology experts, your pancreas is the master regulator of blood sugar. It does this by releasing 2 key hormones, insulin and glucagon. Insulin acts like a key, helping the sugar from the food you eat enter your cells where it's used for energy or stored for later. After a meal, when your blood sugar spikes, your pancreas immediately releases insulin to bring that sugar level down. On the flip side, when you've gone too long without eating or your blood sugar drops too low, the pancreas produces glucagon. This hormone pulls stored glucose from your liver back into your bloodstream to keep your energy up and protect brain function. It's this delicate balance between insulin and glucagon that helps your body maintain stable blood sugar levels, and in doing so, protects your heart, vision, and nervous system. However, when the pancreas is constantly under attack by unhealthy foods, it starts to lose control. At first, it pumps out too much insulin. But over time, your cells become resistant to it. This is what we call insulin resistance. Eventually, the pancreas gets overwhelmed, insulin production drops, glucose builds up in the blood, and type 2 diabetes sets in. That's why you cannot afford to ignore the following 6 foods. These don't just exhaust your pancreas, they are silent culprits behind pancreatic inflammation, visceral fat accumulation, and the slow breakdown of your entire metabolic health. 1. Dairy. Why dairy? In the book The China Study by Dr. Colin Campbell, it is shown that children who consume cow's milk within the first year of life can have a 60% greater risk of developing type 1 diabetes. Why? Because we only have one stomach. And the only real milk a human body can truly handle is feta or yogurt. That's actually what the cow's 5 stomachs eventually break it down to. But I'm not saying you should eat feta and yogurt either, because the state of dairy cows today is not good. It's really not good. From my understanding and experience, the implications of dairy consumption, especially cow's milk, can be significant when it comes to our overall health and the risk of developing autoimmune conditions like type 1 diabetes. The only dairy products I've found that my body can tolerate relatively well are feta cheese and yogurt. These have gone through fermentation, which helps break down lactose and makes them easier to digest. They also contain beneficial probiotics that support gut health. However, I remain cautious about consuming even these fermented dairy products because of concerns surrounding how dairy is produced today. Many dairy cows are raised in poor conditions, and that affects the quality of the milk and the safety of the food we consume. That's why I've started exploring plant-based alternatives like almond milk, oat milk, and coconut yogurt. These options tend to be lower in saturated fat and are generally much easier on my digestive system. 2. Caffeine. Do you know caffeine causes the pancreas to release? It actually causes the pancreas to release glucagon. Because when a person has a cup of coffee, their body thinks there's a crisis. That's why you actually get a little bit of a lift. The body thinks there's a crisis, and so in a crisis it's got to have more glucose. So can you see that it is released to give some more glucose? So what happens is the pancreas gets this response. From what I've learned and experienced, caffeine has a real impact on the pancreas and blood sugar levels. When I drink coffee, for example, my body reacts as though it's facing an emergency. It's like the caffeine tricks the system into thinking there's a crisis happening. In response, my pancreas releases glucagon, a hormone that raises my blood sugar by pushing stored glucose into my bloodstream. That's why I feel a quick surge of energy shortly after drinking caffeine. But that spike in blood sugar doesn't last. What follows is a release of insulin to bring those sugar levels back down. So essentially, caffeine sets off a chain reaction. It mimics a crisis, pushes my body to release glucose, and then forces my pancreas to counter it with insulin. This back and forth puts unnecessary stress on the pancreas, especially if it happens day after day. 3. Wheat. I used to think that sugar was the main villain when it came to blood sugar spikes. But then I discovered something that changed everything: the glycemic index. It's a scale that measures how quickly the foods we eat break down into glucose in our bloodstream. The baseline is 55. Foods with a GI below that are considered low, meaning they digest slowly and help keep your blood sugar steady. That's good news for diabetics. Cherries, for example, come in at just 26. Grapefruit is even lower at 25. These are the kinds of fruits that nourish you without stressing your system. But then I looked up sugar. White, brown, black, it doesn't matter. Sugar has a GI of 59. Not great, but expected. Now here's where it gets shocking. I checked the GI of white bread and white pasta. We're talking refined wheat here. They scored a GI of 69. That means a slice of white bread will spike your blood sugar even faster than a spoonful of sugar. Let that sink in. And think about how many of our favorite comfort foods are built on that foundation: donuts, cookies, biscuits, cakes. It's not just one high GI ingredient, it's two: refined flour and refined sugar. No wonder these treats are a blood sugar disaster. You've probably heard the joke, the healthiest part of a donut is the hole. But this isn't a joke anymore when we realize what's happening inside our bodies. And then came the most surprising part. Wholemeal wheat, the one thing I thought was supposed to be better, actually has a glycemic index of 72. That's even higher than white bread, higher than sugar. I was stunned. The reason? Wholemeal wheat hasn't been refined, so it retains more amylopectin, a form of starch that's rapidly broken down into glucose. The faster the breakdown, the more quickly your blood sugar spikes, and the harder your pancreas has to work to pump out insulin. Over time, this puts massive stress on the pancreas, increases insulin resistance, and paves the way for type 2 diabetes. So what's the solution? I started choosing grains that haven't been genetically altered, like rye and oats. Oats especially are rich in soluble fiber, which slows down digestion and helps stabilize blood sugar. I also discovered spelt, an ancient grain that hasn't been tampered with. It's higher in nutrients and protein than modern wheat, and it's easier for many people to digest. These simple swaps don't just protect your blood sugar, they support your pancreas. And for me, that's reason enough to change what's on my plate. 4. Margarine. I used to think margarine and sugar were just everyday ingredients in the kitchen, until I realized what they were silently doing to my pancreas. Let's talk about margarine first. It's not just a butter substitute, it's a chemically altered fat, created through a process called hydrogenation. The result? A substance that's just one molecule away from plastic. Seriously. That's how processed and unnatural it is. And when I learned this, I started questioning everything I was putting on my plate. But it wasn't just the chemical structure that concerned me. Margarine actually blocks the insulin receptor sites on your cells. These sites are crucial because they allow insulin to move glucose from your bloodstream into your cells. When they're blocked, your pancreas is forced to produce more and more insulin to compensate, leading to insulin resistance and eventually type 2 diabetes. And you know what's worse? Margarine is a saturated fat, solid at room temperature, which is a clear sign of heavy processing. In contrast, natural polyunsaturated fats, like those in olive oil or flaxseed, stay liquid. Now, let's talk about sugar. A single can of soda contains about 15 teaspoons of refined sugar. To put that in perspective, it would take nearly 15 meters of sugar cane to produce that much sugar naturally. Have you ever tried chewing through just a few inches of raw sugar cane? Imagine doing that 15 meters long. It's absurd, but that's the amount of sugar we're gulping down in just seconds. The problem is, refined sugar spikes your blood sugar levels almost instantly. Your pancreas goes into overdrive, releasing massive amounts of insulin to bring those levels down. Then comes the crash, followed by another craving, another spike, another crash. It's a vicious cycle that wears down your pancreas and sets the stage for diabetes. This isn't just about cutting out a few foods. It's about protecting an organ that quietly works for you every day, until one day, it can't anymore. 5. Carbohydrates. I used to think eating a high carbohydrate diet was harmless. After all, carbs give us energy, right? But what I didn't realize was how much damage I was quietly causing to one of the most vital organs in my body, my pancreas. Here's what actually happens when you consistently eat a diet rich in refined carbohydrates. Your body breaks those carbs down into glucose, which floods your bloodstream. That glucose needs to go somewhere, so your pancreas releases insulin to help push the sugar into your cells. But when this happens over and over again, meal after meal, day after day, your cells begin to get tired of seeing insulin. It's like they say, "I'm sick of the sight of you." And just like that, insulin resistance begins to set in. The cells start to ignore the insulin, and the glucose stays in your bloodstream. Your brain notices those high sugar levels and panics. It sends signals to the pancreas, "Quick! More insulin, more insulin." But the real problem isn't that there's too little insulin. It's that your cells are no longer responding to it. So what happens next? Your pancreas, trying its best to keep up with these relentless demands, starts working overtime. Eventually, it gets worn out. It simply says, "I've had enough." And that's when the breakdown begins. Insulin resistance doesn't stay quiet for long. It opens the door to type 2 diabetes, a condition where your pancreas is so overworked, it can no longer keep your blood sugar in check. It's not just a blood sugar issue, it's a story of how our dietary habits, especially high in processed carbs, can wear down our organs until they break. And most people don't even realize it until it's too late. Your pancreas has been working for you in silence, day after day, meal after meal, keeping your blood sugar balanced, your energy stable, and your entire metabolism in check. The truth is, Every sugary drink, every processed snack, every spread of margarine isn't just a treat, it's a test of your pancreas endurance. And one day, if we don't listen, it will quietly stop trying. But it doesn't have to end that way. By removing these 5 dangerous foods and making conscious choices, you have the power to protect this vital organ before it's too late. You have the power to rewrite your health story, starting today, starting now. If you found this video helpful or eye-opening, please give it a thumbs up, share it with someone you care about, and make sure to subscribe to our channel. We release weekly videos with science-based advice, natural health tips, and the truth most people never hear until it's too late. Join us, your pancreas will thank you, and your future will look a whole lot brighter.